Ni hao ma. Welcome to World Languages with Dr. L. In today's video, I'm going to help prepare you for the Chinese World Language Praxis exam number 5665. Throughout this video, I've added some bonus material to help prepare you for the test. Alright, so what is the Chinese Praxis exam? It costs $170. It's going to take about 3 hours, and it's to help prepare you become an elementary and secondary Chinese teacher and help you get your license. So the dates and the score requirements are going to vary, and so check what your requirements are for your specific state. All right, so here's the exam format. In section 1 and 2, there's 75 selected responses. There's interpretive communication, which means reading, listening, and then also culture is incorporated. In section 3 is writing. There's 4 constructed responses. And section 4 is speaking, also with 4 constructed responses, and be prepared to work in the presentational and interpersonal modes of communication. All right, let's take a look at sections 1 and 2 a little bit more in depth, the interpretive communication. So this is going to make up 64% of your overall exam score. Again, there's going to be 75 multiple choice questions. This part's going to take you about 110 minutes, and there's going to be print text with reading, audio, listening, and then culture is going to be incorporated into both the reading and the listening portions. All right, up next, let's talk a little bit more about the constructed responses portion and the interpersonal and presentational modes of communication. So these sections are going to make up 36% of your exam score. Each one's 18%. So section 3 is writing with 4 prompts. It's going to take you about 1 hour. And then section 4 is going to be speaking with 4 prompts, and that's going to take you 18 minutes. Okay, so now you know the exam format a little bit better. Let's take a look at how we can start preparing. Okay, again, so let's get into the section 1 and 2 a little bit more in depth with interpretive communication. Again, so 64% of your score, 75 multiple choice questions, 110 minutes. And let's look at this a little bit more in depth. So there's going to be 5 to 6 texts for reading with 30 questions, and that's 26%. There's going to be 5 to 6 audio clips with 30 questions, and that's 26%. And then culture is going to be incorporated into both of those with 15 multiple choice questions, and that's going to make up 12% of your grade. All right, let's keep moving on here. All right, so our helpful hint for the multiple choice questions in the reading is to preview the questions first, then read the authentic article, and then answer the question. So that's going to make the most effective and efficient use of your time, is to preview the questions first. That way you know what you're looking for while you're reading, and then answer them. All right, so what are some ways that you can practice reading? See if there's some Chinese books that you can check out. Maybe your local library has some, the public library or your school library. Even children's books can be helpful for building vocabulary. Also, they have pictures that go along with the words. There might be some new words or grammar concepts you're not familiar with. Magazines are a good way to practice. They might have some current articles. Also, what you want to focus on in the magazines are the ads. So they've typically got a picture with a catchy slogan, and those can be a good way to practice because sometimes advertisements appear as an authentic material on the test. Also check out newspapers like cnChinaDaily.cn, also people.com.cn, and so the more that you read, the better that you're going to get at reading, and that's what they're going to test you on this exam. Okay, so the helpful hint is while you're practicing reading, create a list of words that are new to you and then study them. Maybe you want to make a Quizlet. So reading comprehension comes down to about 90% vocabulary knowledge. So the more words you know, the better your reading comprehension is going to be. All right, what are some ways to practice listening? So maybe there's some Chinese music that you like. Also movies in Chinese. Or it could be an American movie or a movie you're familiar with, and then put it on the Chinese audio and can have the Chinese subtitles. Also try to immerse yourself. Maybe there's a community event that you can get to, or maybe there's a church service or someplace where you can practice with other Chinese speakers. Also, news and weather is a great way to practice listening skills because they've got a lot of information that they need to get out in a short amount of time, and so they typically speak at a pretty fast pace. And so when you just start, you can put on the closed captions and the subtitles, but then eventually work to just listen to the speakers give the weather and the news at a fast pace. All right, so the helpful hint here is during the listening portion to take notes of what you hear and then refer back to your notes during the questions. Otherwise, if you're not taking any notes, then you're also challenging your memory and you just want to challenge your listening. So take notes while you listen. All right, let's move on to the writing section, which is going to make up 18% of your exam score. And it's going to take about 55 minutes plus a 5-minute writing practice. So there's going to be interpersonal writing, presentational writing, phonetic transcription, and then presentational writing with integrated skills. Okay, so this could be an example of the interpersonal writing. Prepared to respond to an email, a letter, or a memo. You need to have at least 60 words minimum, and they suggest that you spend about 15 minutes on this portion. And be prepared to write a formal letter, so make sure you know how to say dear in a formal letter and sincerely in a formal letter. And again, they might write you something and you might have to answer questions from what they've written you. Okay, for the presentational writing can be an opinion or position essay. So that you need 120 words minimum, and they suggest you spend about 15 minutes on this portion. And you need to be able to explain and defend your opinion on the selected topic, and then also give reasons and examples to support your opinion. Okay, up next is the presentational writing with the integrated skills. So you're going to read a passage, and it's going to appear in both the writing and the speaking section. So you need to write about this concept and then also speak about this concept. So you're going to give a written response here. You need a 120 word minimum, and they suggest you spend about 20 minutes on this portion. And now you're going to explain the pros and cons to the topic. So now you need to provide both sides to the argument for this topic. And the last writing portion is a phonetic transcription. And here's what the instructions are, specifically word for word quoted from Educational Testing Service 2021. So you'll be asked to transcribe a text written in Chinese characters in Hanyu Pinyin using Latin letters and Arabic numerals to indicate tones. So be prepared to do that, do some practice. All right, on to the speaking format. So this is the last portion. It's going to make up 18% of your score. And there's going to be 6 minutes of speaking. And this is broken down into integrated skills. Again, it corresponds to what you're writing about. Now you're speaking about, 2 sides of the article, we'll get into this more in depth, presentational writing. There's a simulated conversation with 5 responses, and then there's a phonetic read aloud. So let's take a look at these a little bit more in depth in this section. All right, so for the integrated skills, the same article as the writing section, and you're going to give your opinion on the topic, and they give you 2 minutes to prepare and then 2 minutes to speak in Chinese. All right, after that, they've got the interpersonal speaking, the simulated conversation. So you get 30 seconds to read the outline. There's going to be a prompt number 1 is a greeting and an info, so be prepared to share information about yourself. Then there's going to be 4 more prompts where they ask a question and you respond, and you get 25 seconds to respond to each of those prompts. So practice doing that. Then there's going to be a phonetic read aloud. And again, here are the instructions word for word from the Educational Testing Service site. And you need to assess your ability to read a phonetic transcription of Mandarin Chinese. You'll be asked to read aloud a passage written in Hanyu Pinyin. All right, and that's what I've got. Up next, you may want to check out my World Languages Pedagogy Praxis video number 5841 if your state requires that. All right, 谢谢。